I've been a movie buff pretty much my entire life. I have started watching movies at a young age, and due to the geographical location of where I was living, outside wasn't always necessarily an option. So, what did I resort to? I resorted to movies. Movies carried. I have probably my top 150 movies in a black box somewhere. I don't know where, probably in storage, that I've collected just over the years. And my collection keeps growing. Movies that I love live in my brain like a never dying memory. Now, while I've done a couple movie reviews on this channel, I wanted to kind of switch the focus just a little bit. I wanted to focus on a critically acclaimed TV show. I just recently finished it, and for those of you wondering, it's Dexter. If you read the title of the video, you'll know it's Dexter. Dexter is a very unique show to me. Okay, there's a lot to say about it. The show is about this forensic investigator who lives a double life as a mass serial murderer. Like, he's not even a serial killer because killing doesn't even begin to describe the method and the detail-oriented visions and things that the show produces. This man has a method and he sticks to it. And the show is about him living his life. And it's narrated by Dexter. So you're kind of living in the brain of Dexter. You're kind of seeing things that only he would see, hearing his inner monologue, which is why most of the show makes sense. The show itself, overall, let me get this out of the way. I'd probably give it an 8.5 out of 10. I know that seems kind of high, but it's a good show. It does get slow at some points, but it definitely has its redeeming moments. I would say the drop-off is kind of season 2 to season 5-ish. There's 8 total seasons. I was able to get through seasons 2 and 3 pretty well. Season 4 kind of started picking it back up, and season 5 is when I think the show redeemed itself and carried on until season 8. There are really just 4 major moments that I want to break down within Dexter. The first moment is when Rita dies, right? That's like right after season 5, I believe. Somewhere in there, Rita dies. If you didn't know that, now you do. Spoiler warning. Blah, 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 Rita dies. And this is the first time that Dexter truly loses somebody who isn't family that he loves. For Dexter to love is considered a scientific impossibility. He's a psychopath. Psychopaths don't have emotions. They have just them themselves. Like, they are very straight-minded. They want what they want, and in most cases, they want to kill. For Dexter, however, he is able to develop emotions, and after season 5, it really kind of dives into this mechanic with the death of Rita. He, although doesn't take it completely to heart, he sure as hell does about 50-50 with him being able to kind of show people that he cares, but he also uses it as like a reminder, which means he learned a lesson, which means he lost something. There was something to lose in that moment when Rita died. Rita dying was both a shocking moment within the show and a kind of like a eye-opener, let's sit up and let's pay attention to what's going on, because it drew me back into the show. When the Trinity Killer murders Rita in his style, in the bathtub, you don't expect it at first, right? Dexter is out dealing with Trinity, kills him, and you're like, ooh, that part of the season's over, let's get to the next big problem. And then Dexter goes home to find his son sitting in blood and his wife dead in the bathtub. While it is a crazy experience, it isn't even the peak of the show. I would say the peak of the show comes when Deborah, his sister, figures out who he is. Figures out the serial killer that is her brother. I guess mass murderer. I did just say that serial killer wasn't his exact term, but kind of just describing it. That's the words I want to use. Deborah Morgan figures out her brother's biggest secret. And at first, she's kind of like, I need you to stop. Let's get some help. And then you truly start to see Deborah's mind flip and mold into this, well, Dexter only kills bad people, so I guess it could be okay. And, well, Dexter does have a point. This person wouldn't have died if, he had killed him. So she kind of falls into the point that, Dexter, what he does is for the good. It's for the good of humans, He's only taking out the bad people. He's only taking out the trash, the quite literal worst of the worst. The majority of his early show targets were like people who were just released from prison for murder in some degree, whether at very large numbers or even, I believe one of his first victims was just merely somebody who killed once. And when Deborah figures out who he is, it kind of, you see Deborah Morgan start to break as a character. In the first half of the show, she's this strong-willed, brave-hearted detective who loves her career, will give anything and everything to further the successment of her career. And when she figures out Dexter is who he is, you see the first crack in her character. And you see a second crack in her character. And then she goes off and just straight guns down LaGuardia. Just, something crazy. Like, my jaw was dropped there. And then, she kind of falls into this, I'm broken, you broke me, I shot the wrong person kind of depression. And then it explores a lot of more of Deborah and her rise back to, Dexter's my brother. He's the greatest thing in the world. But I want to discuss the third biggest thing in my watch through. And it's towards the end of the show. These last two things do happen within like 3 episodes of the last couple scenes. So, Deborah Morgan getting shot, right? This is the first moment, and 3 and 4 definitely tie into each other. This is the first moment that you see Dexter break, right? Before she gets shot, Dexter decides, hey, maybe it's best that I don't kill this guy. Maybe it's best I go off, spend some time with my girlfriend and my son, go to Argentina, live the life. This guy can just fry in the electric chair, yada, yada, yada. He leaves. Leaves Deborah to arrest this murderer. The brain surgeon is what they deem him. Leaves her to arrest him. Everything goes wrong, and Deborah ends up getting shot. When Dexter finds out that there were complications with Deborah's surgery, and she has basically become a stroke victim to where she's, not going to be able to feed herself. She's not going to recognize those around her. She's not even going to know you're there, quite honestly. You see this break in Dexter's character. His face, his mask starts to crack. And you can tell that he is truly heartbroken at the fact that he had the opportunity to kill the person that did this to his sister. And so in his head, it's, this is my fault. My sister is dead because of me. Well, not dead yet, but she does end up dying. Another spoiler alert. I've talked a whole bunch of spoilers at this point. If you've made it to this part of the video, you should have just finished the show. And Deborah dying, Dexter truly just doesn't forgive himself, which causes the downfall of Dexter. Now, I haven't seen Dexter Resurgence, so I know that the ending of the show is temporary. I'm not going to ruin everything about the show, I guess. I'll keep one thing secret. But it shows me that Dexter truly does and doesn't understand the consequences of his actions. If Dexter were to, how do I put this, not be a murderer, I know that's like the entire point of the show, then maybe none of these bad things would happen. And, the show wouldn't be worth watching because it's just about this forensic tech who is a little too obsessed about blood. But he starts to really show his moral compass in the last episode. What he really cares about, what he truly strives and has begun to build up in his heart instead of murdering. There was a line where he's like, "This used to be my favorite moment. The moment right before the kill. The moment as he's picking at a knife, ah! And it's weird to see the shift in his character from a murderer who, obviously likes to murder to a father, a boyfriend, a brother. And it's weird to see that shift. And one of my biggest critiques of the show is, while it made for a great finale, I believe that this change could have happened earlier and they could have drawn it out, but that's a different story. Overall, I highly recommend Dexter. There are some slow points, there are some high points. The majority of the show is kind of slow paced and mid, but then there's the moments that kind of really back in. It's like a fisherman fighting with a big fish. You can't put all your power in at once or you're going to burn out and not have any fun. You're not going to catch the fish, I guess. But if you have time, all 8 seasons are good. You could probably skip through or kind of background noise seasons 2, 3, and 4. Maybe halfway through 4, start paying attention again. It's kind of what I did. Overall, I'd watch it. I would suggest that you watch it. It's definitely not like a Breaking Bad or a Better Call Saul or even a regular show. I guess regular shows are a horrible comparison, but nonetheless, I'm yapping now and I need to shut up. So, until next time, you guys have a wonderful night. If you've made it this far, please like, subscribe. It always helps. It always pushes that extra mile. It always convinces me to keep on doing this. As always, this has been The Kevin Show. You have a wonderful night. And again, thank you for watching.